What's going on, everyone? So the Lakers absolutely need help on the offensive side of the basketball. They are more times than not playing like 2-on-5 out there on the offensive end. These two guys are making up for like half, if not more, of your total offense game in and game out. The Lakers have been very good defensively this year, 6th in the league, but they're like 24th in offense this year. And they don't have anybody else that consistently, game in and game out, can provide a scoring boost, right? Taurean Prince has been your most consistent offensive weapon all season, right? You look at guys like Austin Reeves, he's had stretches, he's had games, but he's also had just as many bad games or inconsistent games or inefficient games as he has good games. Even the games in which he scores 20, right? It's like he's 0 of 5 from 3. So it's just like you need some level of consistency, right? And if you go get that guy, what happens is now everyone else slots in. So, for example, Zach Lavine, right? And I want to kind of go over Zach Lavine. I kind of want to answer a lot of just the questions and concerns that I see a lot of people have because I do understand the concerns. But to me, with Zach Lavine, he's the guy that is available, wouldn't break the bank as far as like assets that we have to give up. Got to remember, the Lakers are very limited on assets. They don't have 3 or 4 first-round picks to go trade to go get like a Donovan Mitchell or something like that. Obviously, do I think Zach Lavine is the best fit in the league for LeBron James and Anthony Davis? No, but he's up there. A guy that can play off the ball, shoot 45% from 3 on catch and shoot threes is massive. A guy that you can give the ball to and just go get a bucket. The Lakers have stretches constantly. I mean, even in the Pelicans game, the Wolves game, they had an 0 of 10 stretch that lasted over 5 minutes. The Pelicans game, they had an 0 and 8 stretch that lasted almost 4 minutes, right? The Lakers don't have anybody that they can just give the ball to and let them go to work, right? Here you go get me a bucket, right? You saw in that Timberwolves game, Timberwolves offense gets stagnant. What happens? You have Anthony Edwards just be aggressive, apply rim pressure, go get a bucket, whether it's hitting a mid-range or getting to the basket and finishing strong or hitting a 3 or doing whatever. Lakers don't have anybody like that. They don't have the athleticism out on the perimeter. And they don't have anybody else that can consistently generate that offense. Guys like Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, they have to work hard, right? Like Austin Reeves can't just blow by his defender. He can't just elevate and shoot over the top of the defender, right? He has to get into the teeth of the defense. He has to create contact. He has to try to create even just a small margin of separation in order to get his shot off. Zach Lavine, he can just elevate and shoot over to the top of pretty much anybody. And Zach Lavine coming to the Lakers he would be the best natural scorer that the Lakers have, right? LeBron James, when his shot is falling, don't get me wrong, he can be great, but he's not somebody that just game in and game out is just lights out from pretty much anywhere on the court, right? His offense more so is let me put my head down, just be bigger, stronger, faster than everybody and get to the basket, right? Like 90% of the points he generates comes from that. Him just getting to the basket. Anthony Davis, yes, his mid-range, even his three-point shot is knocking down this season, but he's not a guy that's just, you want him taking 6, 7 threes a game, right? You want him taking 6, 7 20-footers, right? No, he's a lot towards the basket, around the basket. A guy like Zach Lavine, he's a guy that can score with the best of them, right? This is a guy that has multiple 50-point. He has a 50-point game this season. And just think of the quality of looks he would get and the type of defenses he would see. It would be unlike anything he has ever seen in his career because he's no longer the number one option, right? And this is a point where I see a lot of people bring up, right? He's not the guy, right? He's not somebody that has proven to be the guy. But that's the thing. He doesn't have to be. No one's asking him to come in and be the number one option and be the best player on this team. If Zach Lavine is your best player, you're probably not winning a championship. If he's your second best player, you're probably not winning a championship. But he is a supercharged third option, right? Supercharged. Talking about, I mean, this is a guy that can score with the best of them in the league, right? And another thing is his contract. I understand his contract, right? Let's get the contract out of the way. I don't believe he's a $40 million a year guy either. I agree with that. Thing is, though, is that that's why he is available, and that's why he is obtainable, for one. And two, his contract won't really have any major bearing on the Lakers, right? Many people compare this, and I've seen them to Russell Westbrook. It's not anywhere close to that. One, the Lakers didn't have the sizable contracts to basically take two guys and go and make the deal and it basically over. And then that, like, they had to trade 3-4 of their actual key rotation guys because those were the only guys that had the real sizable salaries, right? But for the Lakers, now you got guys like Rui and D'Lo that basically get you 2/3 of the way there. And then you're just throwing in like a Jalen Hood-Schifino, maybe like a Maxwell Lewis and like a Jackson Hayes or something. And if you can get, an Andre Drummond in the deal, then perfect, right? Also, fit-wise, it's not even comparable to Russell Westbrook. Nobody thought Russell Westbrook would fit, right? Zach Lavine, again, is a guy that is an elite shooter, guy that shoots, again, 45% on catch-and-shoot threes. This is a guy that can absolutely score with the best of them, right? So, and then as far as like the financial implications, the only thing it changes is the luxury tax that we have to pay, which Jeannie has said publicly she will pay whatever it takes as long as we are winning basketball games, right? And so the thing is with the Lakers, they are already over the cap regardless. No matter what they do, even if they just stand pat and do nothing, they are over the cap. It's not like they're going to have a bunch of money in free agency this season or the next. Their roster is basically locked up the next 3 to 4 years anyway. So going and trading for Zach Lavine fits the timeline of the current roster. And even post LeBron, the salary cap will be skyrocketed at that point. So Zach Lavine's contract will be much more manageable, right? And if he works out, well, then now LeBron at some point, his money's going to fall and you'd be good. You'd still have plenty of depth. You'd have, 9 to 10 guys deep, and you're just going to be looking for vet minimum guys anyway. The only thing you can't do is get the biannual exception stuff like that. The Lakers wouldn't be able to do that anyway. Because again, they're going to be over the cap long term regardless. Even if they were to trade for a DeJounte Murray or anything. Regardless, they're in that position. Right? So the contract is not an issue. Okay, the other big issue that people like to bring up is, why do you want to trade for another injury-prone guy? Well, name me a player in the league that plays 82 games anymore. Like a star player. I mean, there's guys at the end of the bench and stuff like that, but I'm talking about who? Right? Today's NBA, guys don't play, 80 games anymore. I think the only one that I can think of that comes to mind immediately was Mikal Bridges. I know Mikal Bridges for 3 years didn't miss a game. But outside of that, everyone plays around 70 to 75 games, and that's a good season. Right? Even guys like Joel Embiid and Giannis and Jokic takes games off and stuff. Zach Lavine played 77 games last year. He played 67 the year before. He played 58, 60, 63. So he's basically playing 60 to 65 games a year, right? And again, that's on heavy minutes and a big role, heavy role, right? Him, again, being the third option, changes a lot. He hasn't played fewer than, 58 games, but basically 60 games. He hasn't played fewer than 60 games since the 2017-2018 season. Again, what do you classify as injury? If he goes and plays 77 games for the Lakers, then that's fine, right? He doesn't even need to play that many, right? Again, guys don't play. The years of playing 80 games or 82 games are over, right? It just is not something that happens anymore. And you can't make decisions for injuries, right? Anthony Davis had an injury history before we traded for him. Guess what? We traded for him. He won an NBA championship, right? Do you not trade for Lavine? Or do you look at, if you're so worried about injury history, right? Do you not trade for Giannis if he became available and you could trade for him? Do you not trade for Luka? Right? Do you not trade for Embiid? Right? Like, again, where do you draw the line? Now, obviously, I'm not saying Zach Lavine is as good as those guys, but still, it's like, the point is that, like, people are like, oh, he's injury prone, but he plays as many games as these guys. I mean, put this in perspective. Joel Embiid. Zach Lavine played 77 games last season. Joel Embiid has never played a game in which he's gotten to 70 games. 70 games. Zach Lavine, the last 2 years, has basically played more games than Joel Embiid has played year in and year out his entire career. 66 games, 68 games, 51, 51, 64, 63, 31. Did not play. And this year he's played 25. Right? Like, again, so where are we at? Zach Lavine also, as I mentioned, allows Austin Reeves to now kind of slot into where he's best. Right? Now Austin Reeves, right, when he has a bad game and only gives you 10, guess what? It's that much more impactful. It's okay now. Right? Because now you're going to have Zach Lavine going and get you, let's just say he gives you 20. Say he just gives you 20, right? Well, you don't have that 20 right now. Right? D'Lo's not providing it. Rui's not providing it. I'm talking about game in and game out, right? They might on occasion, right? You're not getting that offensive output from anybody on a regular basis, right? So now, if Austin Reeves has a bad off game, one, he's no longer your third option. He's your fourth and can kind of play that six-man role even better now, right? But if he has a bad game and gives you 10, it's fine. Because now you're at, let's say LeBron and AD give you 50, Lavine gives you 20, there's 70, Reeves gives you 10, right? As opposed to, so now you're at 80 as opposed to 60. And in the games in which Reeves gives you 20, right? Well, now guess what? Now you're at, 90 as opposed to 70, right? So again, you're probably winning most, if not all of those games. The pressure of Reeves isn't there. The pressure of other guys isn't there. Now Taurean Prince doesn't have to be your third most consistent scorer, right? So if he can continue to maintain his consistency and he can continue to maintain what he's able to do, now guess what? You're even better. So if he can give you 12 a game and Reeves can give you 15 a game, Lavine gives you 20 a game, AD and LeBron combine for 50. So now you got 50, you got 20, there's 70, Reeves gives you 15, there's 85, Prince gives you, 12. You're almost at 100 just between 4 guys or 5 guys. And that's not counting anything else. That's not counting what Wood gives you. That's not counting if the Lakers do any other minor deals or minor trades or anything like that. And that's not counting Reeves goes and gives you 20 or 25 a game. Lavine has a 30-point game. AD goes off for 35 or 40. LeBron goes off for 30 or whatever, right? So you're going to be at probably 115 a game, 120 a game if you go and get Zach Lavine. Solves a lot. Everyone slots back into their position. Everyone slots back into where they are at, right? So another big thing, right, is defense. Many people are afraid of defense. Well, what is Zach Lavine? How does he, defensively, all of that, right? Well, Zach Lavine this season has a defensive rating of 117.2, which is 2 points worse than league average, right? So he's worse than league average. But people want a guy in DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray has a defensive rating of 120. DeJounte Murray has been worse defensively this year than Zach Lavine has been. And many people, because I've talked about this, DeJounte Murray has been worse defensively than D'Lo this year. And people say, oh, that's because he's on the Lakers and DeJounte Murray's on a terrible Atlanta team. Okay, well, what's his excuse compared to Zach Lavine? Because Chicago they're not a good, they've been better, right? They've been better the last 10 games or whatever, but the last few seasons have not been a very good defensive team at all. But Zach Lavine's been better defensively. So what is it? Zach Lavine has been serviceable defensively. He is capable of being a solid defender. He's not elite. He's not going to be, all defensive player of the year type player, but he is good enough to be very good defensively to where the Zach Lavine can kind of offset supplement on that end. And he has the athleticism and all of that. He has a career defensive rating of 114. Again, league average is 115. He's had years where he's been bad. Last season, not this season, last season, he had a defensive rating of 114.7, which is actually better than league average. And that's all we need him to be. Because offensively, he's going to create so much for the Lakers. And it gives you the opportunity to run those lineups of like Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt. Problem right now is Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt provide us nothing on the defensive side. But it wouldn't be a problem if you had elite offense that could supplement that, right? Like, do I want a legit two-way guy? Of course. I'd love like a Dorian Finney-Smith or something. But what do we have on this team? We have a lot of great one-dimensional guys. Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt have been elite defensively, but are basically non-existent offensively. So go extreme the other way. Go completely extreme the other way, right? Get a Zach Lavine. Now you could go Zach Lavine, Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Because you have now enough offense to offset the lack of offense that a Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt have. Where you don't have anybody else that can do that. D'Lo isn't consistent enough. Reeves hasn't been consistent enough. And they're not guys that could just light it up, right? They're guys that are, again, they have to work hard for their offense. Zach Lavine can. Zach Lavine, you can't leave him open. If you leave him one-on-one, he's going to torch that guy, whoever the defender is. It just gives the Lakers so much more versatility. Again, are there concerns about Zach Lavine? Absolutely. Of course there are. But you can make an argument and talk yourself out of any player in the league. Even LeBron James, right? When LeBron James wanted to sign with the Lakers, you could have talked yourself out of it. It doesn't make sense. Lakers have a young core. Let's stick with the young core. You know they're going to end up trading everybody, right? LeBron isn't going to make us a contender by himself. So why? We ended up getting LeBron, right? Anthony Davis trade comes along. Anthony Davis is injury prone, right? Why are you going to sell the future to go get Anthony Davis, right? Well, you go get Anthony Davis and you win an NBA championship. So guess what? It was worth it. Right? You can make an argument for anything, any player, anything. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you talk about Joel Embiid is heavily injury prone, has never had a season in which he played 70 games. Why would we trade for Joel Embiid? Giannis has been hurt the last few playoffs, right? Is having back injuries and all kinds of stuff. Like, I don't think he can't shoot, right? How does he play alongside Anthony Davis? Like, I don't know if that works, right? Luka is super extremely ball dominant. Can he play next to another star? He misses a bunch of games, right? Like, defensive liability. You can talk yourself out of anybody. But sometimes you got to take the calculated risk. Zach Lavine is a calculated risk. It's not some reckless play. It's not some reckless move. But what happens if it doesn't work out? You could say that about anything. Anything. You could have said that when you went and traded for Anthony Davis. You could say that about anything. You could say that about if we got Embiid or Donovan Mitchell. Like, right? Let's keep it like, let's say we were able to get Donovan Mitchell. There's a possibility that doesn't work. Is Donovan Mitchell going to be able to go from the number one option to the number 3? Zach Lavine has been a 2, right? He's been the second guy before, so he knows how to play that. And all he'd be shifting, but the thing is too with the Lakers, he would get to do what he's best. Because the Lakers, it's not like he's not gonna have to make any major adjustments. Because the Lakers need exactly what his skill set is. Just go get buckets. Right? It's all we need you to do. What are you best at? Scoring. Go score the basketball. Zach Lavine makes a world of sense. So The Lakers need to go get Zach Lavine. It just, every game you watch, it just becomes more and more apparent. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Hopefully I answered all of your questions. If there's any others that you have, again, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts, everything like that. If I need to, I can always make another one of these to answer other questions that people have. But again, it slots everyone in their natural position. The contract isn't really going to be as impactful as people think, right? I'm not saying it's nothing, but it's not. People are making it out like it's going to be this big deal. His injury history, again, he's played more games the last few years than most of the stars in the league. Again, he's fine. Fit will be great. He'll fit in seamlessly, and it makes the Lakers better. Does he solve all of the Lakers' problems? Of course not. But he solves about like 70% of them. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate you all. See you in the next one. Thank you.